Good morning and welcome back. I'm Carol Costello at 32 minutes past the hour. Let's talk about the Zimmerman trial and the prosecution's key witness this week, Rachel Jeantel. Her testimony is critical to both sides of the case because she was Trayvon Martin's friend and she was the last person on the phone with Trayvon Martin during that deadly confrontation. But did her testimony turn this case into a trial about race instead of murder? Listen.
Describing the person is what made you think it was racial?
Yes.
And that's because he described him as a creepy-ass cracker?
Yes.
So it was racial, but it was because Trayvon Martin put race in this.
No.
You don't think that's a racial comment?
No.
You don't think that creepy-ass cracker is a racial comment?
No.
But some say it is a racial comment. Listen to what Daryl Parks, attorney for Trayvon Martin's, had to say about it.
To this family, race is not a part of this process. And anybody who tries to inject race into it is wrong.
So let's bring in our legal guest. Tanya Miller is a former federal prosecutor. She's joining me here in Atlanta. And Danny Savalos is a criminal defense attorney. He joins us from Philadelphia. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Hi, Danny.
Hi. Oh, hi. Thank you. Thank you. I can hear you fine. Sure. I just, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Tanya, first question. It seems actually like Rachel Jeantel is on trial.
It really does, you know, and I've been thinking about this all week as I've been watching the trial unfold. And unfortunately, what it appears to me to have happened is that Rachel Jeantel wasn't adequately prepared by the prosecution for her testimony. She is who she is. Witnesses don't come perfect.
You think you can prepare Rachel Jeantel for testimony?
Oh, absolutely. As a prosecutor, you get all kinds of witnesses. I've had cases where the witnesses were convicted murderers, confessed liars, who had been threatened and were deathly afraid of coming to court, who didn't speak well, who weren't educated. It is the prosecutor's job to work with that witness to prepare her for what is coming.
Because, Danny, when I listen to her, she seems like the kind of young woman that you cannot coach. She is who she is. She's defiant. She's going to say what she says.
Yeah, counsel brings up a great point. In this business, you have all kinds of witnesses. They're often not polished, and Rachel is certainly someone who is what she is. But the other side of that coin is that when you are who you are, the jury is free to believe part of your testimony or none of your testimony. And when you contrast Rachel with Mr. Good, who testified yesterday, who is very clear, very understandable, the jury probably was able to find him more credible than Rachel. Even though you may find her likable, you may find her candor, you might find it really appealing, but ultimately it's about credibility. Whether or not you think someone's falsifying, Rachel's probably someone that just isn't credible.
Okay, so let's bring the conversation back to race and how this has become very much a factor in this trial. When Rachel Jeantel said on the stand that she didn't think cracker was a racial slur, it was just something that kids say, and she claims that Trayvon Martin called George Zimmerman a cracker, that really did inject race into this case. Now, if you talk to Trayvon Martin's family, especially his stepmother, who was on Anderson Cooper last night, she thinks this case has nothing to do about race. Yet it's there now, isn't it, Tanya?
Well, I think race has always been a part of this case. I'm not sure I completely understand the about face of the family's attorney with respect to the role that race has played in this case, and frankly, the way that people perceive this case, to be sure. As far as Rachel's use of the term cracker and her feeling that it wasn't racial, I mean, it's obviously a racially offensive word. But in using the word, in part, it really is going to depend on how the person intends it. Trayvon also, according to Rachel, referred to George Zimmerman as the N-word. So what's the significance of these terms? Are they just sort of, vernacular slurs? Who knows ultimately?
But the Martin family is taking this very seriously because, again, last night on Anderson Cooper's show, Trayvon Martin's stepmother, and Danny, I'll address this to you, she said she thinks that George Zimmerman was not racially profiling her stepson. Instead, she thinks Zimmerman was profiling the fact that Trayvon Martin was wearing a hoodie and was sort of acting tough, but he wasn't profiling Trayvon Martin because he was a black kid.
Yeah, well, I mean, race ultimately is not an element of any of the crimes charged in this case, nor self-defense. So while we can open a dialogue about race, even injecting it into the case, the real reason probably defense injects that into the case is not really racial, but more so the jurors look at these witnesses who use these words so freely and say, wow, that's not the kind of language that I would use, therefore I can't relate to this person. Irrespective of that person's race, it's just language I would not use in polite company, therefore I can't identify with that person, and therefore I don't find them credible. So this case is less about race. Race is not an element of any of the charges or self-defense.
All right, Tanya Miller, Danny Savalos, thanks so much for the conversation this morning.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Thank you.